All right, let me do an unconventional thing, because the first question by Amina was whether we can measure the impact. And feel free to respond. This is across the board. And ladies and gentlemen in the audience, you'll be helpful here if you just respond yes or no. Nothing else funny, tafadhali. Yes or no. Has the government failed in providing employment for the youth?
Yes.
I heard a one no, eh?
A one here.
Yeah, there's a no here.
Okay.
But we can tell that it is unanimous in the sense they're saying the government has failed. Is it as easy as that, throwing it to the government in terms of the responsibility to create employment? And I'll start with you, Dorcas, and please let's respond to this question, because there's a whole environment to the employment sector, and you could speak to this coming from the HR background.
Thank you, Mark. First of all, it is indeed not just the responsibility of government to provide jobs. Government does not provide jobs, but government provides the environment that would lead to a situation where the economy creates jobs. One. Secondly, we've got to start transitioning from thinking that a job is 8 to 5 in an office to having a mindset change. And I can give a quick example. Kevin, the other day, that was discovered as a first-class actuarial science, and jobs started popping up for him to have it. And one of them was, I think, in the banking sector. Why did we not say he has a car wash? Let's buy bigger machines for him. Let's place him in a place more accessible so that indeed he can become actually an employer. Therefore, a change of mindset is something that we also all need in this country.
All right. Daktari, if you'd want to respond to that particular response from the audience here.
I think I agree with what Dorcas and Waziri have said, in the sense that there is so much going on within the government in creating the enabling environment. But the youth themselves need also to tap into those opportunities. For example, the area that I represent, the creative economy, film, whether you're talking about music, public performances, the area of entertainment is so rich, If you look at what Churchill has done, for instance, Daniel Ndambuki, as he's known, but Churchill, using his own talent to create opportunities for others, and that has become an industry on its own. It tells you that if the youths themselves discover the talents that they have and utilize them and become, take the initiative to tap into the opportunities that are available within the government, particularly in the creative sector, I think the future is bright. We need to transition from the idea of just holding a paper and waiting for a job to be advertised or to be interviewed and get it, to creating the jobs ourselves. And I think if there's an area that provides a very bright future, it is the creative economy, it's the film industry, it's entertainment, it's talent-based, whether you're talking about sports, whether you're talking about entertainment in general. These are areas where there are a lot of opportunities, and we're here to discuss how we can help the youth tap into them.
Right.
Let me just add that we must ask ourselves, how do we prepare the youth for the jobs? Because I think, as you said, the government has not provided enough jobs, but we should also take other parameters. What does government do to prepare its citizens for the world of jobs? Take, for example, the education. People go to school, and from the previous experience, a lot of us went to school, get good grades, pass, get a job. But that model is no longer working. So I don't think we can blame the government alone, but the government should create an environment that can make people get jobs through supporting entrepreneurship, supporting companies to grow, because government itself, total number of public servants in government right there are only 1 million. That is a very small number out of a population of 50 of us. So it is very important to look at it as a complex area that has got many interventions that cannot be summed up by measuring it by provision of a job.
All right, thank you so much, Madam CS. Now, in order to take it back, I'm so sorry, Edwin.
Because I'm comfortable. You said I'm...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think it's important to start to look at it at a macro level, right? So our economy has been growing at, 5 to 6% depending on which year, except when we have elections where we know that dips. With an economy growing at 5-6%, an inflation rate of 3-4%, and a population growth of another 2%, it means that we're actually running very, very hard to stay exactly in the same place, right? And that macroeconomic environment is largely driven by government. And so we have to ask, what's government doing about creating the macroeconomic environment that actually allows much greater economic expansion? Because jobs will not come unless the economy is expanding and people are finding opportunities to do that. That's the first point. Second point is, on the resources that have been deployed largely in the Youth Fund and the Women's Fund and others, if you look at the kind of enterprise it's been funding, it's largely what I'd call survivalist enterprises, right? So it's literally people who are trying to survive and they need to do a thing, versus transformative small and medium enterprises. And so you have to ask, how does government increasingly grow up that chain and say, what we actually must do is build transformative ecosystems that allow SMEs and others to actually grow and be dominant in our ecosystems and beyond, versus just for people who are trying to survive. And one critical aspect is the imposition of you must be in a group to be able to borrow the money. Most entrepreneurs actually don't operate in a group, right? You have one or two entrepreneurs who build an idea, and then you have a couple of people who work for them. The structure that's been built actually makes it difficult to allow people to get to escape velocity and therefore get to transformational, versus you're stuck in a survivalist place. And those are the kinds of things that government's own policy would be fantastic to shift, because it begins to change the dynamics on the ground.
Some good dynamic there that you're providing in terms of the holistic environment, the macro environment that they need to get into. But this is something that I'd like to throw back, but please, to Dr. Professor Ogot, as well as George, if you may, you could interject here. Would you agree that the economic progress has primarily benefited the older generation? You know the saying, kazi kwa vijana, pesa
Kwa wazee.
pesa kwa wazee. Yes. Would you agree with this? The issue that the economic progress has largely benefited the older generation.
You know, the reality of the Kenya of today, let me not even talk about the world of today, but let me take you back. First of all, the International Labour Organization formed the Global Commission for the Future of Work in 2017. The fact that a commission like this has been set up to oversee the issues of the future of work in the world of today, it means that there's an issue about where we are headed into the future and work. And one of the tenets they talk about is about the youth and their aspirations into the future, meaning there's an issue there. Now, is it true that the economy is benefiting the old and not the young? First, I wanted to go back to the fact that we are saying that the youth need to discover their talents, and they know that which it is, then they tap into it. They can't. I meet them every day. I meet them all the time. We are actually holding a career festival here on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we know they come in. They don't even sometimes know themselves, and some of them are seated right here. How do we expect them to discover their own talents? It means that we as a country, those of us who are ahead, those of us who are leading businesses, those of us who are policymakers in this country, must get into an agenda of helping the youth to bring out that which we think is a talent for them. And Dr. Ezekiel, I appreciate you mentioned Churchill. His name is Ndambuki, right? Ndambuki, he says that when he started getting into the laughing industry, the mother was in shock. She almost lost her life in shock that the son is in a job where he just makes people to laugh. And I also discovered I can actually make people laugh, and I'm like, I had a talent, but nobody really helped me to get out of it so that I can actually have that talent expressed. So I got into HR, I'm stuck behind a desk, but I realized that I have a really good sense of humor. How do we bring that out of the youth? That is the question we must ask. It's not about them taking on the mantle. Which mantle? They can't see the mantle, they don't know the mantle, but we must help them to get that which they have to come out for them to be able then to be in gainful employment.